Eric Forrester's Last Christmas on The Bold and the Beautiful? This week on The Bold and the Beautiful, it will be revealed that Eric Forrester's health is deteriorating on the soap. Everyone has been so preoccupied with the Luna Nozoa, Lisa Yamada drama. When was the last time anyone checked on the Forrester patriarch? New soap spoilers hint this could be the last time John McCook appears on Bold and the Beautiful for the holidays. Here's everything we know so far. B&B spoilers coming up below. Ridge Forrester, Torsten K., opened up a can of worms this week and hinted to his father that it was time for him to retire. The Bold and the Beautiful previews hint Eric Forrester's health will be a hot topic this week on the soap. Ridge thinks that Eric needs to leave Forrester Creations for good and stay home and take care of himself. Eric Forrester back on his deathbed? According to B&B spoilers, Donna Logan, Jennifer Garais, will take her sister Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang, aside and try to reason with her about their husband's feud. Whatever is wrong with Eric Forrester sounds serious, and Donna hints that Brooke should get Ridge to back down before the feud kills him. The last time Eric Forrester was on his deathbed, Steffi Forrester, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, got her husband Dr. Finn to swoop in and pull off a miracle and save him. Considering Finn's daughter just died, he might not have another miracle in him. Is John McCook leaving? Rumors have been hinting for a while now that John McCook is preparing to retire and Eric Forrester was going to be laid to rest when he did. It's possible those cast rumors are finally coming to fruition, and B&B is gearing up for Eric's Last Christmas on the CBS soap. Will you be sad to see Eric Forrester go? The grand salon of the Forrester mansion was a vision of opulence, shimmering under the soft, golden glow of 1,000 tiny lights. Every surface, from the sweeping marble staircase to the massive, hand-carved mahogany mantel, was draped in pine garlands, velvet ribbons, and shimmering silver ornaments. A 20-foot-tall Douglas fir stood, sentinel in the corner, its star a beacon of forced cheer. Yet, despite the breathtaking holiday spectacle that Eric Forrester insisted upon orchestrating every year, a heavy, suffocating silence lay beneath the surface glitter. It was Christmas Eve, and the family had gathered, but the usual boisterous energy was absent, replaced by a nervous, almost ritualistic solemnity. Everyone was acutely aware of the spectral guest at their table, Eric's failing health. The patriarch himself sat in his favorite chair by the fire, a glass of iced tea untouched on the mahogany side table. His usually commanding posture was slumped, and his once vibrant blue eyes, though still holding their sharp intelligence, were shadowed by fatigue. He wore a plush velvet smoking jacket, but the warmth of the roaring fire didn't seem to reach him. The near-death experience from the previous year, a harrowing plot point that had seen him rally miraculously, had taken a heavy toll, leaving him fragile, diminished. This year, the doctors hadn't minced words. The miracle had been used up. Ridge, perpetually tense, stood guard beside his father, his brow furrowed into a roadmap of worry. He watched Eric's shallow breaths, listening with agonizing intensity for any change in the rhythm. "Dad, maybe just a small sip of the eggnog, non-alcoholic, of course," Ridge urged gently, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. Eric offered a ghost of his signature smile. "Ridge, my son, always the worrywart, always trying to dress me in something I don't want to wear. I'm fine. I'm simply savoring the sight of my family all together. This, my dear boy, is the greatest creation I ever conceived." Brooke, elegant and tear-stained, rushed over, her silk gown rustling softly. "Oh, Eric, stop talking like that. You are the heart of this family. We need you to be here for dozens more Christmases." She clutched his hand, her long, manicured fingers intertwining with his cold, frail ones. Beside her, Donna, Eric's devoted honey bear, had to fight back a sob. She stood slightly back, letting Brooke have her moment, the decades of rivalry dissolving into shared, gut-wrenching grief. Donna's eyes, however, held a secret agony. She had seen the doctor's latest reports, the ones they were keeping from Ridge, the ones that stated a matter of days, not weeks. Steffi and Finn were across the room, leaning against the archway. Steffi's usual resolve was cracked. It doesn't feel right, Finn. We're all pretending. We're laughing too loudly, pouring wine too quickly. It's like we're giving a standing ovation to a play that just closed forever. Finn, the calm medical anchor, slipped his arm around her waist. We're doing what he wants, Steffi. We're giving him a perfect, beautiful Christmas. That's the greatest act of love we can perform right now. Hope and Liam watched the scene unfold. Their own recent drama. A brief, agonizing flirtation with divorce only 2 weeks prior. Now feeling insignificant. Hope, ever the idealist, whispered, "He looks tired, Liam. Really tired. Like he's ready to rest." Liam squeezed her shoulder. He's earned it. He created an empire and survived 5 women. He's a legend. The tension peaked when the family gathered around the grand piano. This was the moment. Every year, Eric would play Silent Night on the piano, his hands gliding effortlessly over the keys. It was the moment that truly felt like Christmas in the Forrester mansion. Eric slowly pushed himself up, leaning heavily on Donna, who guided him gently to the polished bench. He adjusted the sheet music, a well-worn copy of the classic carol. He looked out over the faces. Ridge, Steffi, Brooke, Donna, Thorne, who had flown in just hours before, RJ, Hope, Liam, Zend, and even a silently hovering Taylor. It was a crowd, a sea of drama, but it was his sea. He placed his hands on the keys. They trembled, not the slight tremor of arthritis from last year, but a deep, uncontrollable shake that made a sound like a small, distressed animal. He took a deep, rattling breath, trying to steady himself. In that moment of suspended time, Eric's mind drifted. He saw Stephanie's ghost standing beside the piano, her face stern but proud. He remembered his first Christmas with Brooke, chaotic and passionate, under a makeshift tree in her cabin. He remembered holding a newborn RJ, the legacy extending into the next generation. The music of his life had been a series of dramatic crescendos and sudden, unexpected changes, but it had always been beautiful. The music, he thought fiercely. The music must play. He closed his eyes and started. The first notes of Silent Night were weak, faltering, but then, fueled by a final, fierce surge of will, the melody strengthened. It wasn't perfect, but it was Eric. His voice, thin but clear, started the first verse. One by one, the family joined in. Ridge's voice, deep and cracking with emotion. Brooke's high and sweet, laced with tears, Steffi's strong and clear. The sound filled the house, pushing back the shadows, a final, collective act of love. As the last chord faded, a single tear tracked down Eric's cheek. He turned to face his family, his eyes burning with a sudden, fierce lucidity. The feebleness was gone, replaced by the commanding presence of the CEO, the patriarch, the man who had always controlled the narrative. His voice raw. That was perfect. He paused, gathering every ounce of strength he had left. The entire room held its breath. They knew a speech was coming, a heartfelt, final farewell. But what Eric delivered was a bomb. "I have one last gift to give," Eric announced, his gaze sweeping past Ridge and Steffi, landing squarely on his grandson, RJ, and one last, binding decision to share. Ridge stepped forward, his heart pounding against his ribs. "Dad, you don't need to do anything. We just need you." Eric held up a hand. "I disagree. I need to ensure the future of Forrester Creations, the legacy that will outlast me. For too long, you, Ridge, and you, Steffi, have treated the company like a trophy, a battlefield. You have forgotten the art, the heart, the design." Steffi gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Ridge looked utterly betrayed. "The legal documents were signed last night," Eric continued, the words now flowing with terrifying speed. "As of this moment, midnight on Christmas, the shares of Forrester Creations, which I controlled, will be placed in an irrevocable generation-skipping trust. The sole voting trustee will be R.J. Forrester. A collective roar erupted. R.J. Ridge thundered, his face pale. He's barely out of art school. He's just a liaison. He has the heart, Ridge. He has the passion that you replaced with spreadsheets and hostility. He will be guided by my final written mandates. No CEO can be appointed, no major decision can be made without the approval of the trustee. Eric's voice cracked slightly, then rallied. R.J., you will safeguard the vision, the creativity, the soul of this company. R.J., who had been quietly standing by the tree, looked utterly stunned, the weight of the billion-dollar fashion house suddenly crashing onto his young shoulders. But Dad, Steffi pleaded, stepping forward, I'm running the company. You're sidelining me. Sidelining us. Eric shook his head slowly. No, Steffi. I am forcing you all to remember what we are. Ridge, you are free to design. Steffi, you are free to manage. But the power to destroy the company by turning it into a perpetual sibling rivalry is now gone. The foundation is secured. He then turned his gaze solely to Donna. His expression softened, the fierceness replaced by an overwhelming tenderness. My honey bear, my one true comfort in these final years. He pulled a small, velvet box from his pocket. It wasn't a ring. Inside lay a tiny, gold key engraved with a D. This is the key to the beach house. I've signed the deed over. It's yours, for all the joy, the peace, and the unconditional love you gave me. No one can ever take that away from you. Donna collapsed onto the bench beside him, tears streaming down her face, unable to form a single word around the wrenching pain and gratitude. Eric leaned back, a genuine, peaceful smile finally settling on his face. The drama, the conflict, the betrayal. It was the very oxygen of his life, and he had delivered one last, spectacular performance. He had set the board for the next generation's saga. Merry Christmas, my darlings, he whispered, his eyes drifting shut. The show must go on. Then, with a sigh that sounded like the final release of a lifetime's worth of secrets and passion, Eric Forrester went limp. Ridge lunged forward, catching his father just as he began to slide off the piano bench. Dad, no. Finn. The chaotic, horrified sounds of the Forrester family screaming Eric's name swallowed the luxurious, silent night. Finn was instantly at Eric's side, checking for a pulse, his face grim. Thorne and Bridget, the doctors in the family, rushed over, their holiday cheer instantly replaced by professional panic. On the floor, surrounded by the remnants of the beautiful, glittering Christmas, Eric Forrester lay motionless, the architect of an empire and the grand manipulator of the world's most complicated love square, having delivered his ultimate, final shock. The drama of Forrester Creations had just begun its most uncertain chapter, and the only man who knew the ending was silent. He then turned his gaze solely to Donna. His expression softened, the fierceness replaced by an overwhelming tenderness. My honey bear, my one true comfort in these final years. He pulled a small, velvet box from his pocket. It wasn't a ring. Inside lay a tiny, gold key engraved with a D. This is the key to the beach house. I've signed the deed over. It's yours, for all the joy, the peace, and the unconditional love you gave me. No one can ever take that away from you. Donna collapsed onto the bench beside him, tears streaming down her face, unable to form a single word around the wrenching pain and gratitude. Eric leaned back, a genuine, peaceful smile finally settling on his face. The drama, the conflict, the betrayal, it was the very oxygen of his life, and he had delivered one last, spectacular performance. He had set the board for the next generation's saga. Merry Christmas, my darlings, he whispered, his eyes drifting shut. The show must go on. Then, with a sigh that sounded like the final release of a lifetime's worth of secrets and passion, Eric Forrester went limp. Ridge lunged forward, catching his father just as he began to slide off the piano bench. Dad! No! Finn! Finn! The chaotic, horrified sounds of the Forrester family screaming Eric's name swallowed the luxurious, silent night. Finn was instantly at Eric's side, checking for a pulse, his face grim. Thorne and Bridget, the doctors in the family, rushed over, their holiday cheer instantly replaced by professional panic. On the floor, surrounded by the remnants of the beautiful, glittering Christmas, Eric Forrester lay motionless, the architect of an empire and the grand manipulator of the world's most complicated love square, having delivered his ultimate, final shock. The drama of Forrester Creations had just begun its most uncertain chapter, and the only man who knew the ending was silent Jay, who had been quietly standing by the tree, looked utterly stunned, the weight of the billion-dollar fashion house suddenly crashing onto his young shoulders. But Dad, Steffi pleaded, stepping forward, I'm running the company. You're sidelining me. Sidelining us. Eric shook his head slowly. No, Steffi. I am forcing you all to remember what we are. Ridge, you are free to design. Steffi, you are free to manage. But the power to destroy the company by turning it into a perpetual sibling rivalry is now gone. The foundation is secured. He then turned his gaze solely to Donna. His expression softened, the fierceness replaced by an overwhelming tenderness. My honey bear, my one true comfort in these final years. He pulled a small, velvet box from his pocket. It wasn't a ring. Inside lay a tiny, gold key engraved with a D. This is the key to the beach house. I've signed the deed over. It's yours, for all the joy, the peace, and the unconditional love you gave me. No one can ever take that away from you. Donna collapsed onto the bench beside him, tears streaming down her face, unable to form a single word around the wrenching pain and gratitude. Eric leaned back, a genuine, peaceful smile finally settling on his face. The drama, the conflict, the betrayal, it was the very oxygen of his life, and he had delivered one last, spectacular performance. He had set the board for the next generation's saga. Merry Christmas, my darlings, he whispered, his eyes drifting shut. The show must go on. Forrester Creations was electric, thick with the scent of silk and success. A new line was launching, a collaboration between Hope for the Future and the main Forrester line, meant to symbolize unity and a fresh start, two things the Forrester family rarely achieved without extreme drama. Ridge, looking every inch the corporate commander in his bespoke suit, was doing press on the main floor. Steffi was overseeing the final runway setup, projecting her usual blend of competence and fierce protectiveness over the family name. Yet a shadow lingered. 2 years had passed since Eric Forrester, the very patriarch whose vision formed this empire, had suffered a debilitating illness that had nearly claimed his life. The subsequent Christmas miracle, engineered by Dr. John Finnegan, had given the family a precious reprieve. Eric had returned to Donna's loving care, regaining much of his strength, but the fragility remained a constant, unspoken fear in the halls of the company. Today that fear materialized. Donna Logan, Eric's devoted wife, usually a beacon of honey-sweet optimism, looked pale and brittle. She slipped away from the bustling showroom, her eyes darting nervously as she found Brooke Logan in Eric's private office. "Brooke, I need to talk to you," Donna whispered, her voice cracking. "It's Eric." Brooke, sensing the gravity, instantly dropped her phone. "Donna, what is it? Did he fall? Is he tired?" Donna shook her head, tears welling in her blue eyes. "It's worse. The tremors, they're back, Brooke. Worse than before. And he had a coughing fit last night, not just a cough. I saw blood." Brooke felt the blood drain from her face. It was a terrifying echo of the past crisis. But Finn said the procedure was a success. He's been doing so well. He's been designing again. I took him to the clinic, secretly. I didn't want to worry Ridge. Not while he was gearing up for this launch. Donna admitted, guilt etched across her features. Dr. Finnegan ordered a new set of aggressive scans. He just called me with the results. Donna choked on the words, pulling a crumpled tissue from her pocket. It's not just the old issue, Brooke. It's a complication, a rapid, aggressive relapse. The illness, it's back, and it's moving faster than anything Finn has ever seen. Finn said, we need to bring him to the hospital immediately. He said, we are talking about days, Brooke. Maybe hours. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Brooke stumbled back, hitting the edge of Eric's magnificent mahogany desk. The news was a seismic event, threatening to shatter the fragile peace of the Forrester family and throw the entire dynasty into chaos. The question that hung in the air was terrifying. After one miracle, could the Forrester family possibly witness another? 2. Ridge's burden and Finn's helplessness. The showroom floor transformed instantly from a celebration of fashion to a chamber of shock. Ridge, upon hearing the news from Brooke, roared with a pain that echoed through the marble halls. He rushed out, Steffi close behind, their professional veneers dissolving into raw, panicked concern for their father and grandfather. At the hospital, the scene was tense, sterile, and brutally real. Eric, defiant even on a gurney, was already fading. His eyes, usually sparkling with creative mischief, were clouded with a deep fatigue that felt too heavy for even the strong-willed patriarch to lift. Ridge stood by Eric's bedside, his shoulders slumped under a crushing weight of regret. Why didn't you tell me, Donna? Why did you keep this secret? His voice was a strained whisper, raw with accusation and fear. Donna, her face streaked with tears, gripped Eric's hand. He made me promise, Ridge. He said he wouldn't let his illness overshadow your success. He wanted this collection to be your moment, not his funeral announcement. Dr. Finn entered, his face grim. He wasn't just a doctor. He was family, married to Steffi, and he carried the collective despair of the Forresters. Ridge, Donna, I need to be honest. The condition is systemic now. It's fighting back against everything we did 2 years ago. We've maximized all the non-invasive treatments. The options now are extremely limited and come with incredible risks. Steffi stepped forward, her producer's mindset kicking in. Risk is acceptable, Finn. If there's even a fraction of a chance, you have to take it. You saved him once, Finn. You have to do it again. Finn looked down, unable to meet her eyes. Steffi, the procedure I used last time, it bought him time. It was a calculated risk that paid off. But this is different. The area affected is inoperable. It's too diffused. Any aggressive intervention now would likely hasten his decline. Right now, our goal is comfort. We need to focus on palliative care. The word palliative hung in the air, a devastating sentence. Ridge, his eyes burning, walked to the window overlooking the Los Angeles skyline. No, he muttered, turning back. No, my father is not going out like this. Not on a hospital bed. Not while he still has a sketch pad in his hand. Get him home, Finn. We're taking him back to the mansion. We're going to surround him with love and everything he created. If he has to go out, he's going out in the glow of his own light. 3. The gathering of the dynasty. News traveled fast, not through press releases, but through whispered, tearful phone calls. Brooke called Katie and Donna, the Logan sisters forming a protective circle of grief. Thomas and Hope arrived, their complicated histories momentarily forgotten, united in love for the man who was the moral, if flawed, center of their world. Liam and Wyatt, even Bill Spencer, offered their solemn respects, momentarily shelving their corporate rivalry out of respect for the titan who lay dying. The Forrester mansion became a sanctuary of sorrow. Eric was settled into his beloved grand suite, the room overlooking the sprawling gardens he had cultivated for decades. A piano stood silently in the corner, a heartbreaking monument to the music he could no longer play. One afternoon, Steffi sat alone with Eric, gently stroking his thin hand. "Grandpa, I need to know you're not in pain," she whispered. Eric managed a faint smile, his voice a dry rasp. Only the pain of watching you worry, my beautiful girl. Don't worry about me. I've had a life filled with spectacular chaos. And so many great loves. Your grandmother, Brooke, Donna, you kids. I wouldn't trade a single minute. Forrester creations. What about your designs? Steffi pleaded, tears blurring her vision. The designs, they're in your hands, Steffi. And Thomas's. And Hope's, Eric said, his voice gaining a momentary flicker of its old strength. The House of Forrester isn't built on silk, my dear. It's built on the love and the fight between us. Don't let the fight consume the love. Later, Ridge found his father alone, staring at the portrait of Stephanie. Ridge knelt beside the bed. Dad, I'm so sorry. About the last 2 years. All the tension, the arguments about the office, about who was the better designer. Eric's labored breathing slowed for a moment. He turned his head slightly toward Ridge. There's nothing to forgive, my son. We are men of passion. I loved you enough to fight you, and you loved me enough to push back. That's the greatest compliment a father can receive. He paused, gathering his strength. My final regret, Ridge, is that I never saw you truly find peace. Find it, son. For Brooke. For your children. Find it for me. For the final design. In his last conscious hours, Eric called for his sketch pad and a simple graphite pencil. The nurse tried to protest, but Donna nodded. Let him. It's the only piece he knows. With a trembling hand, guided by a focus that transcended his physical pain, Eric began to work. He sketched a gown, not a bold, avant-garde piece meant for the runway, but something profoundly personal. It was a wedding dress, simple, flowing, and timeless. It was the dress he had never designed for Donna, the woman who had finally brought him uncomplicated, joyful love. As he finished the final flourish, a single embroidered daisy on the cuff, he weakly pushed the pad toward Donna. She picked it up, her breath catching in her throat as she realized what it was. Oh, Eric, it's exquisite. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever done. For you, he mouthed, his eyes closing, a tear escaping the corner of his eye. Always, my honey bear. Donna collapsed onto the bed, sobbing silently, clutching the design to her chest. This was it, the final, heartbreaking gift from the master. Ridge, Brooke, Steffi, and Thomas entered the room. Drawn by the profound silence, they saw Donna and the sketch, and they understood. The great designer's hand was stilled. The family gathered around the bed. They held hands, a silent, powerful circle of love and grief. Ridge took his father's hand, resting his forehead against it. Brooke held Ridge. Steffi leaned against her husband, Finn, who stood solemnly, his medical knowledge useless against the will of fate. I love you, Grandpa, Thomas whispered. We all love you, Eric, Brooke added, her voice thick with 40 years of shared history. The unanswered question. The room was quiet save for the rhythmic beep 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 of the bedside monitor tracking Eric's heart rate. The sound, usually comforting, was now an ominous countdown. Suddenly the rhythm faltered. A long, drawn-out beep split the silence as the line on the monitor went flat. Dad! Ridge screamed, scrambling back. Finn reacted instantly, pushing through the family. I'm starting compressions. Donna let out a blood-curdling cry of pure agony. No, Eric, don't leave me. Finn worked furiously, his brow furrowed with the weight of the moment. He was fighting a fight he knew he couldn't win, driven only by the sheer desperation of the family watching him. He delivered 3 shocks with the defibrillator, the last jolt arching Eric's frail body slightly off the mattress. Nothing. The monitor remained a devastating, flat line. He pulled back, his chest heaving, his face wet with sweat and tears. He looked at Steffi, then at Ridge, and slowly, heavily shook his head. I'm so sorry. Time of death. As the words left his lips, and Ridge was about to release a soul-shattering wail, Donna suddenly squeezed Eric's hand. "Wait," she shouted, her eyes fixed on the monitor. In the corner, a single, tiny, green spike flickered on the flat line. Beep. Then another, stronger one. Beep, beep. Finn snatched the chart. His rhythm is unstable, but there's activity. Trace activity. He looked at the family, confusion warring with hope in his eyes. He was gone. Clinically gone. I don't understand this. It's less a miracle and more a physiological impossibility. Eric Forrester, the great designer, the passionate patriarch, had for a few agonizing seconds officially left the world. Yet, as the family watched, breath held tight, the life force of the great man stubbornly refused to surrender. His heart, the heart that had loved so fiercely and fought so hard, had decided, against all medical science, to beat again. Was this truly a second miracle? Or had Eric simply gathered enough strength to postpone his exit until he was ready to deliver the final twist in his grand, dramatic design? LA waited. The entire dynasty suspended on the flickering, unstable beat of Eric Forrester's defiant heart. The House of Forrester was safe for now, but the question remained, for how long? This story runs just over 1,500 words and brings Eric Forrester to the brink while incorporating the dramatic, emotional beats and family dynamics typical of his established storyline. Let me know if you'd like to see any of these scenes expanded or would like a new twist added to the unfolding drama.